Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Max Frequency Podcast. I am your host, Max Roberts, and I have the honor and privilege of being joined once again by Wizawhat. Hey, Wiz, how's it going?
Once again, I'm back.
I'm back.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, of course. So, for those of you not familiar, Wizawhat, YouTube essayist extraordinaire, a big fan of the old Nintendo, the Wii U's mightiest defender.
Oh, yeah.
Notorious Switch hater, Super Mario 64 aficionado. I think he holds a world record somewhere.
Yes, I do. The any percent hazy maze caveless, in fact, world record. That's
Beautiful.
A deep cut.
Probably the hardest. I don't know. I did. I went to the midnight launch for Switch 2, which we're going to talk about Switch 2. But I went with a friend who had the pre-order there, and everyone in line brought their Switch 1, and I was the dummy who was like, oh, this makes sense. I should have brought my Switch to the Switch 2 midnight. But anyway, he speed ran Odyssey in like an hour and 15 minutes, and that helped kill time so much because I just got to watch him, destroy this game in an hour, which is just bonkers absurd. So anyway, Wiz does all of those things. He's great. I had him on the show last year. I didn't even look it up. I didn't look up the last time you were on here, but you were on the show.
We chatted for a long time.
We did. When I was thinking about this summer, normally every summer I have guests on to talk about one or two of the big summer events. And when thinking about Nintendo this year, I was like, who should I have on? And I thought, I'll have Wizawhat. And part of this is because, A, I just want to talk to Wiz. It's always a good excuse to talk to Wiz. And second, I was like, this man says he's not going to get a Switch 2. This will be a very interesting perspective to talk about the Summer Direct from Nintendo with Wiz. And then two things happened. Nintendo announced, at least as of recording, that we haven't heard of a proper summer full direct officially. And instead they gave us a Donkey Kong Bananza Direct shortly after Switch 2 launched. And I was like, well, that's probably the Direct. And Wiz is a big Donkey Kong fan. I figure we could stretch that into a podcast, and we shall do so. But then Wiz decided to get a Switch 2. So he kind of ruined half of my plan there. Tell me, how did this happen? How does one end up with a Switch 2 after not planning on getting one at launch?
Yes, I am a hypocrite, but let me explain the circumstances. The circumstances were very unconventional. So, I did say, for the record, for the haters, I was not going to pre-order a Switch 2. Technically,
this is the loophole.
I did not pre-order the Switch 2. However, I do have a brother who is a sick freak and needed to get a Switch 2 by any means necessary. And so what he ended up doing was he pre-ordered 2 units.
Mm-hmm.
And so he got them both online. He was like, as I'm sure you were as well, just up until the late hours of the night on those online pre-orders, and I was just in my bed asleep, not a care in the world. And so he ended up with 2 of them, one from like Walmart and the other from Target. And so we were talking about it, and I made my decision that I wasn't going to pre-order. But that didn't necessarily, I want to make it clear what I was trying to say in my hater manifesto, which was mostly complaining about like the marketing, was that I didn't see enough to get excited to pre-order, which is like, I'm generally not a pre-order guy either way. For Switch 1, I just was like, on the day of, I was like, yeah, I think I'll get this, and walked out to Target, and it was pretty easy to get a Switch 1 from my perspective at launch. And so, I was like, I'm not going to worry about this. I'm not happy with this. I need more convincing. I need to see more from Nintendo. So, then I got to try it for myself. One of his units was late, the Target one.
Target one, for sure. Target.
And yeah, so then I got to try it for myself and play some Mario Kart, which, like, I think we can talk a little bit about Mario Kart, but I was just really like, do I think it's like worth a $80 game? On principle, I really hate the idea of $80 games, but I think with what they did, actually, this might be a hot take. I kind of feel like it kind of, at least given the like long tail of Mario Kart, in addition to the changes that they made to the gameplay, like, I actually think I'm going to be playing this Mario Kart game way longer than any other Mario Kart game in the past. But we can get into that. However, what I do want to say is that while I hate the idea of $80 games, what I love about this generation so far is the virtual game cards. So I haven't even purchased Mario Kart 8 for myself either. So I had to make a decision. Do I want to keep this Switch 2 that is it was sitting in the corner of my room in the box? I was like, do I want to just do this or just send it back?
I'm picturing it in the corner, like red eyes glowing out of it, or like Chancellor Palpatine, like, do it. Just you're getting ready to. No. Do I have to do this,
dude? Also, as like an influencer person, like, I mean, there was a lot of discourse about like, oh, boycott Nintendo, and I never thought that was gonna do anything. And I was just, my position on that is like, just do what you want to do, and if it's a bad decision, if Nintendo has made bad decisions, like, they're gonna pay for it in the future. So really, it's just let the market decide, do what you want. Don't feel bad about doing what you want to do. That's what I tried to put across in that video. But yeah. So I feel like if I didn't get it, I was worried about like potentially like struggling to get one later. And that's tough being an influencer. I feel like, especially with my focus on Nintendo stuff, it doesn't make sense for me to just not have it at this point. So
whatever we can do to justify the purchase.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, so what's interesting is, I mean, we're going to talk about the Donkey Kong Bananza Direct. That's obvious. And one of the tidbits that came out right after the Direct was there were these demo kiosks popping up at Targets, Walmarts, Best Buys around the country. And so I went to a few Targets today in hope of finding one, and I was unsuccessful. But I did see multiple Switch 2 consoles, both on the floor and signs saying that we have them in the back, which I find really encouraging because Nintendo reported selling 3.5 million Switch 2s within the first week or the first 4 days, something like that, which is the fastest, biggest console launch in the history, surpassing whatever the PlayStation equivalent was and previous Nintendo consoles, which is fantastic. But I think the even better news is you can still get one, I think, fairly easily without having to worry about a scalper markup or waiting for shipments to come in. It seems pretty accessible should you want one, which I find encouraging along with the sales success so far. Now, if it was super easy to find and they didn't sell a ton of them, that would be concerning. Or the inverse, where they sell a ton of them but no one can get them, and we have kind of a Wii or a PS5 situation. The PS5 is a little different with supply chains and COVID at the time, but this feels like almost the ideal / perfect launch from a just accessibility perspective. Like, the pre-order process was the worst part of it, but getting the console has been, I think, easy, which is good.
Yeah, well, I also saw a lot of people that didn't bother with the online pre-ordering, which seemed to be the biggest problem. And there were quite a large amount of people that were just like last minute, like, let me just show up to GameStop or whatever. That seemed to be the go-to.
Well, don't go to GameStop.
Strat.
They'll staple your Switch.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Oh, my gosh. That was so... So dumb. Why would you staple anything to a product box? Whatever. It doesn't. Like, stickers are bad enough, but now you're puncturing the box. Like, just, ugh, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's so bad. Really quick before the Switch 2 stuff, you shared this with me before the show, which is apparently the rumor mill, the almighty Nintendo rumor mill. Summer Direct news is flowing in, which is just so funny because we sat down to do this because we're like, all right, they're not going to do one. Now the rumor mill says there will be one in July. There already is going to be a Pokemon Presents in July, so it makes some sense for there to be a proper Direct, and I don't think they've ever skipped a summer Direct showcase of some sort, so it should happen. It makes some sense, but the YouTuber Beat 'em Ups is claiming there will be a Direct in July that will, we're going to say this here for posterity, so skip ahead if you don't want the Direct spoiled for you. There will be Metaphor Refantasio, a Shadow Drop of Pokemon Coliseum on GameCube NSO, Death Stranding Director Cut S, Witcher 3, that's actually kind of logical. The release date for Metroid Prime 4, according to London, is out now, and then a teaser for Animal Crossing 2026. So this is claiming that Animal Crossing would be out next year, which, God help my bank account if that's the case, because I got to buy another one of these things for my wife. So we'll see, I guess. But for posterity's sake, I'll put that here. Does that sound enticing to you, that Direct?
It sounds all right. What was I listened to the clip of him talking about it, and he seemed like pretty confident in all of these. But what was interesting about it is like notable absence of like the games that we already know about, which would be Metroid Prime, yeah, but Kirby Air Ride, that has a 2025 release date right now.
Yeah.
So that would be strange to omit that unless they want to do a Paper Mario Origami King moment and just drop a standalone trailer for that and not even bother talking about it in a Direct, which would be very strange. So I don't know. I mean,
so when I wrote a big piece about, I turned it into a video too, actually, but like my thoughts and impressions on the Switch 2 Direct from April. And I kind of was looking ahead at that time of what they had announced for the year. So obviously Mario Kart and all of the enhanced editions. And then we have Bonanza in July and the Super Mario Party Jamboree upgrade / DLC pack. Then August is Kirby Forgotten Land enhanced edition. September and October were nothing. Now we know that Pokemon Legends ZA is October. There's nothing announced for November or December. The things that have windows are Dragon Drive, everyone's favorite, so I suspect that would be at the Direct.
Yeah.
Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment has a winter date, so that could slip into January, February. That's technically winter. But it could also be this year. Kirby Air Riders had a 2025 date, and Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. So if you look at what's on the calendar, there's a slot for September, November, and December. So I definitely would think, I mean, Sakurai has delayed a game before. That's not new, but I also think given the fact that it sounds like Switch 2 was supposed to be last year and has actually been pushed to this year, I'm not worried about Kirby Air Riders at the moment.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
Yeah, I think it'll be there. I almost think they would show it regardless, just another tease, maybe a gameplay trailer or something, and then we'll see more of it the closer we get to it. Probably a Direct, knowing Sakurai and how good he is at those. Oh my gosh. He'll be sitting there playing 2-player, 1 player with each hand and explaining the game in immaculate detail.
Yeah.
With the greatest CG trailer Kirby's ever seen.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I guess to better answer your question, as far as me being excited for this, like if this, I think, I mean, Animal Crossing is very exciting. I think getting an Animal Crossing in 2026 is huge because, I mean, that is a demographic of its own that becomes a must buy for maybe not the most hardcore Nintendo heads, but like people like your wife, my girlfriend even. I know my girlfriend was like, "Oh, this is like too expensive for me. Is she going to change her mind with
Mm-hmm.
the new Animal Crossing?" Like that could move the needle for a lot of people. And so, yeah, I think for me personally, I mean, I already have the system now, but before I had it, I was thinking to myself, I really wish there was like one more big holiday game, and the Hyrule Warriors game just did not do it for me. Now I'm starting to think like after this Donkey Kong Direct, like this might be the like big Nintendo game of the entire year, which I was not
Mm-hmm.
convinced it was when we first saw it.
Yeah.
Even though, and I say that as a huge DK head, like this Direct absolutely changed my mind in like a very positive way, and now I'm like very highly anticipating it. So
Yeah, it looks sick. Very sick. It's gonna be good. Yeah, I think when they made Mario Kart the launch game for it, that felt obvious to me, given the success of 8 Deluxe, the continued success. It will still sell gangbusters this year, I'm sure. So like, we need as much Mario Kart / console time as possible. The next game that I would think that they would be not rushing, but prioritize getting out as close as possible to the start of the console's life would be Animal Crossing, again, given its success on the Switch. So having it hit next year would make a ton of sense from like the business goals and scheduling perspective. Like that's what you want, and I totally see it. And in my mind, that game is going to be infinitely better simply because it will support mouse mode when you're designing the inside of the homes.
yeah.
And that is going to, happy home designer, but on your TV for realsies is going to be so good and smooth and just way reduce the friction to like designing your homes. It's going to be, or town or city. Take us back to the city. Bring us back to city folk. So I'm hopeful for that. Mario Kart World. I don't think you and I have played together yet, but
No, I don't think we have. I played some with the boys the other night.
and I was asleep.
That was the first time me playing with pals, and the time just flew by, man.
It does, doesn't it?
That game it hits the spot. It is very addictive.
That's what I want to hit on. So you mentioned the other night that you were like hooked on it. I think to you a surprising way. And I wanted to pull on that a little bit because in my head, the thing that stands out the most about this game, and to be clear, I've only played Grand Prix and knockout tours. I haven't explored the open world single player like part at all. But I think Knockout Tour stands out, and primarily because it's like the Mount Warioification of Mario Kart. And so I wrote that in my notes, and now I'm seeing videos and other people talk about it. And that's not like give me credit. It's just we're all observing the same thing. I think Cider, is it Hot
Cider?
Yeah. The thumbnail king.
Yeah, that's
he
what
put
I was
up a
thinking of when
video
you mentioned
about.
that.
Yeah, he put up a video about that, and I've seen it in other reviews and things. So, like, clearly we're all honing in on one of the great tracks from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Basically, is the game now.
Yeah, it's like the
which
blueprint.
I think is great. But then for you specifically, I know you're a big fan of movement and 3D platforming. They basically turned Mario Kart into a 3D platformer.
Yes, they have, and it's crazy.
The movement tech.
Oh man.
We will see this at an AGDQ or whatever, and we will see a speed run through this game, and it will blow our minds.
Yeah, I think I think where it like really surprised me, right, is when Mario Kart 8 came out on Wii U, I played it a ton because I was like, big Wii U head, and I was playing online with friends a lot, and so that game came out so long ago. It's been 10 years, I think. I think it was a 2015 game around this time of the year when it came out.
14.
Was it 2014? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I flew
so
to New York City for that one.
oh, did you?
I did.
Oh, was that for the PAX thing you were telling me about? Was it a PAX or something else?
No, this was just I had some friends who were going up to visit family, and it was going to be during the Mario Kart launch, and so we went at the midnight launch at the Nintendo store. We were
Oh,
about
that's fun.
3 to 5 people away from the cutoff point of getting that super limited collector's edition, which was a little bummer. But my
Uh,
copy of Mario Kart 8 for Wii U was bought in New York City. And that was on May 30th of 2014.
nice, nice. So yeah, it's been a hot minute, and yeah, I just feel like over time it just kind of lost the sauce for me in a way, just based on like the amount of time that we've been playing it. I feel like I was just autopiloting Mario Kart every time I played. And so I this might be a hot take too. I think potentially with the booster course DLC, I think the game got worse for me because I don't really like the majority of tracks that we got in the booster course. And so it kind of diluted the experience in my opinion. Like you mentioned the Mount Wario experience, and that is like what is so amazing about that track is like every lap is different in a like awesome thematic way. And like with the tour tracks specifically, like they change it up on like every lap, but instead of like having it feel like super cohesive, it feels like I'm playing like Burnout 3 on PS2 and there's red arrows everywhere like telling me where to go.
I played Tour quite a bit because I did one season or whatever for guide work, and Tour's fine on the phone. It is Mario Kart with loot boxes, on the phone, which fits exactly what they were going for, but does feel like Mario Kart. But it doesn't scale up well. It's like
Yeah.
putting phone game course on big game TV does not work because they weren't designed around the 8 mechanics, and the assets feel scaled up, not necessarily like redone in the 8 art style. They feel out of place, and you can
Hmm.
tell. But what stands out in the booster pack are the courses that were either original courses designed for the game, or the ones from previous games that they've brought up to spec. But like the problem is most of the booster pack is tour courses because it was new fodder for
Exactly.
them and probably easier. So that's what's such a bummer about it. But what are you gonna do? The game sold way more than they thought. They wanted to make more money off of it.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, I think my point is just that, you know, in keeping the game alive, for me it made the game kind of worse. And so it was just like my enthusiasm for Mario Kart just kind of
hmm
declined over time. And so coming into this new one, like I was not convinced at all that like would I spend $80 for myself for a Mario Kart game? I mean, I guess I did with Wii U over time, but it just seemed crazy to me to do that like right out of the gate, knowing that they're gonna like charge for more DLC or whatever. But besides all that, I did not anticipate like getting back to that point about like just autopiloting every course. I did not anticipate at all like the finesse that they were going to put into these mechanics. And it's not even like in Mario Kart 8 like you have like the new mechanics like the gimmicks being like anti-gravity and what all the whatever stuff from Mario Kart 7. That's like it the parkour mechanics from Mario Kart World, it just kind of like almost puts that to shame in my mind because you can you can almost ignore it, but once you like start digging into it, like the skill ceiling is so ridiculously high and it just opens up the possibilities on like every single track in like unimaginable ways for past Mario Kart games. And so I don't even feel like I'm good at much of the parkour stuff. And I'm used to games like say like skating games where you are basically are magnetized to rails And Mario Kart World is not like that at all. It is super easy to try to go trick onto a rail or whatever and then just completely overshoot it or completely just slide off of it. And so it in that sense, like at that level, it is like highly addictive for me to want to just get a little bit better each time. Combine that with, and maybe you can speak to this because I've been talking for a bit, but combine that with the world design and how when you're playing like Knockout Tour and just driving across the world, like because you have these mechanics, like I don't I don't feel the complaints about like the straight lines or whatever being boring because there's like so much stuff that you can do while you're in the chaos of the pack and grinding on stuff. So it just feels like it'll be interesting to see how I feel about it over time, I think, because like obviously it's only been a couple weeks now.
Right.
So is it going to stay fresh the entire time? I think it has a much higher likelihood of staying fresh for a longer time than 8 did, which is like really exciting to me.
And 8, lasted obviously a super long time thanks to the Switch. It's so the first time that I played it was actually the Saturday after it came out. I had no time, ironically, the first 2 days of the Switch to even like set it up and play. And so it came out on my birthday, and so for that Saturday night, I was inviting friends over to play the new Mario Kart. I was like, this will be a great way to just hang out for my birthday. And when we all sat down, and I did too, but we wanted to do the Grand Prix first, just to get a feel for the courses and like unlock Rainbow Road, just do the things. And so we did all the Grand Prix. But the whole time I was like, guys, like, I think Knockout Tour is going to be the mode. And I explained what it was to them, and they're like, I don't know about that. That doesn't sound like Mario Kart. It didn't sound like that to them. And I was like, no. This is going to be the mode, guys. And we switched to Knockout Tour, and it clicked immediately for everyone. Like, once the first time we did it, heart rates were all shouting. The people that aren't watching are engaged because you're getting close to the gates and people are being knocked out or just barely cutting through. The absolute chaos of the items. We're all at the same starting point. Like, we're trying to figure out these tricks and grinds and like, do we jump? So it's just chaos. It's that Mario Kart chaos, right? And then I go and watch videos on, YouTube will recommend like, oh, here's how you wall ride. And I'm like, oh, this is like the wheels in your brain just start spinning of it is okay. So my good friend Michael, who's been on the show before, Michael Ruiz, he's a skater. He's been a skater for a long time. And whenever we hang out, like at some point, he'll put on skate videos, like when we hang out for our few days in December and just watching things. And he's like, once you start skating, you see lines everywhere, like where you can grind and do tricks and just do the whole thing. Or if you play Tetris, like not the game Tetris Effect, but the term Tetris Effect, where like you just see Tetraminos everywhere and like how do things fit, right?
Yeah.
Once you understand the mechanics of wall riding, grinding, jump boosting, bouncing off things, like once you see it, you start seeing the opportunities everywhere in the game.
Everywhere. Yes.
The power lines, the rails, the boosts, the enemies, how you bounce off of them. Oh, you see lines everywhere in that skater sense. And I think that adds in the past, Mario Kart alternate routes were typically just shortcuts. And maybe like the closest would be Yoshi Valley, where you could go about 3 different ways and eventually all get to the end. But this adds so many like side routes within routes of all these tracks. And then you combine the fact that every single track is interconnected in some way. It really feels like it's not infinite, but an infinite canvas of driving opportunity.
And to your point about like, past Mario Kart games, for a lot of those shortcuts, like you need a mushroom typically.
Right. Yes. I always think of Koopa Troopa Beach in 64, that ramp. You need a mushroom to get into that
Yeah.
little cave. Um,
Hmm.
this is all not all skill based, like high skill based, but the good stuff is skill based. And at least in that setting with my friends, you can play the game and not do all that stuff, and you will still have fun and do fair. I think the item and the rubber banding is all pretty decent for Mario Kart. It's like par for the course. So I feel like it's all fair enough for a casual group, but then if you want to be competitive, you can be. And there's this upper tier and echelon of skill and movement and all that stuff. It's truly exciting, and in a strange way, like I feel like Mario Kart World could have like some form of a competitive scene. I'm not saying
Oh
like
yeah.
a world tournament or anything. I mean, Nintendo actually is throwing their own little tournaments, but I'm not saying there will be esports teams for Mario Kart World, but I am saying that the speedrun community for this game and whatever categories they come
Oh,
up
it's
with, like,
already popping off.
yeah,
Like the
like
time trial community is going crazy right now.
that, I think this is going to be exciting. And when you think about the potential for DLC, I think I think everyone believes the logical assumption will be a new world with X amount of tracks that are all interconnected. Like that I that's what I assume it'll be. Say it's $40 for a whole new continent filled with more retro tracks, more new tracks, all interconnected. The it's just so dynamic. The potential for it is just so high. It's exciting, and I want to play more.
Yeah, and it's been really interesting just observing the reaction to the game
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know if you've seen this, but like one thing that was super funny was like seeing some of the like negative reaction early
Mm.
on. And I think part of it is like because we haven't had a new Mario Kart game in so long, like because like there's undoubtedly like potential issues. Like I kind of wish there was maybe more of a serious ranked mode that is like gets you racing on the tracks more often
Mm-hmm.
potentially because the way it's set up right now is like it's there's a lot of people selecting random on the course selection screen because
So it
it
forces.
guarantees you on a 3 laps. Yeah. So
Mm.
that's like one thing where I think the game could be improved. But I mean, to your point about Knockout Tour, like it is very exciting for everyone. Like with your friends, for instance, like my girlfriend was feeling the same way. Like in a way, Mario Kart 8, because the game was like so solved, like it can be difficult to like want to play that with people like me that have been playing for so long, even
Mm-hmm.
though I don't really take the game that seriously. Like it's been so awesome to have something where like my girlfriend is like excited to play with me. And a lot of that comes down to Knockout Tour, just having that inherent like exciting factor to it.
Yeah.
And like I was hugely obsessed with F-Zero 99 when that came out in 2023, I believe. There's just an infectious like element to the battle royale type style that gets everybody like really pumped up and involved, and the stakes are higher in a more like seamless way. And so I think it all works like super well. And just because it's not playing like exactly what we've come to expect, like it's only developing more over time, and like there's the potential to just add like so much to it as well. It's just super exciting, I think, for and like you don't even need to really, like you said, invest yourself in reaching the skill ceiling because it is equally viable to just play normally. So it's like in a way fun for everybody in a way that like some of the most exciting Nintendo games are with combination casual play and high skill ceiling. And I think that's like ideal for a game like this.
It is a perfect launch game. It is perfect from the single player to multiplayer to the range of skill and movement abilities, the different modes, online support. Like, it's very popular. When a console is revealed, usually developers show off at least one racing game, right? A Gran Turismo, a Forza, like, here are our graphics, here are good. And those games can be great. Gran Turismo, is it 7? I think is the PS5 one, is a phenomenal game. And I loved the 30 hours I put into it. It's a great time. And ironically, like, Mario Kart is the racing game, right? And the graphics are great. It looks really, really good, especially on like a big OLED TV. It's a blast there. But the rest of the sauce here in the game actually also makes it one of the best type of launch, and to show off all the features of the system. It's pretty sweet. It's actually, like, I think because they took the time with this Switch 2 launch and let this game started as a Switch 1 title and moved to Switch 2, like, they've had time to create something new. And I was going to bring this up in the Donkey Kong talk, but I think it fits here, which was, I was thinking about, it's this quote from Steve Jobs, which is, I'll paraphrase it a little bit, but it's, quote, "Some people say give the customers what they want, but that's not my approach. Our job is to figure out what they're going to want before they do." And I'll skip a little bit. And
Yeah.
People don't know what they want until you show it to them. Our task is to read things that are not yet on the page. Did people thought the iPhone was going to be just a iPod with a phone in it? Like, some people even pictured like the click wheel at the rotary. And so, like, you can extrapolate that out and see how it works. But when it comes to a game, it's like, well, if in a new Mario Kart, I just want more Mario Kart tracks and, maybe a new type of mechanic, maybe instead of hovering or going underwater, like, whatever. But I want more Mario Kart. I never would have imagined an open world skateboard game inspired version of Mario Kart that totally with this knockout tour battle royale fusion type energy to it. Like, I didn't know I wanted that. But then when I saw Knockout Tour in those directs and in the Treehouse Tour streams, I was like, nah, that's what I want. And so Nintendo did a very good job here, I think. And I think they're going to do a very good job with Donkey Kong as well. Do you want to do that? You want to jump over to Donkey Kong?
Yeah. I mean, I guess the last thing I want to say about Mario Kart, and this is probably something that we are going to see. We can talk about this and how it relates to Donkey Kong as well. This is an iterative cycle for Nintendo. And that's not to say that, like, the games weren't, like, insanely creative during the Switch generation. They, like, a lot of them absolutely were. But I feel like the kind of feeling that I'm getting right now, I kind of said this in my video talking about, like, when we first got the first drop of the Switch 2, that teaser trailer,
the 2-minute,
I made a video talking about what I needed to see this generation, because the novelty of the Switch itself is no longer that exciting to me. I need, like, and this is, if you ask almost anyone that is, like, super plugged in, everyone's saying the games need to, like, be crazy. Like, we need to see a huge leap in the games. We've been playing Switch games for so long, and this is, like, the platform for them to go absolutely nuts with all their ideas. Like, they've talked about wanting to future-proof the system. They don't want to be held back anymore by the Switch. And so, in conjunction with that, because this is, like, a new era of Nintendo, like, we are past, like, where, like, Miyamoto's not as involved as he used to be. This era of Nintendo is transitioning to a younger, like, more youthful development team that is injecting a lot of ideas that are very appealing to a younger audience in a way that I feel like is kind of unusual. And I feel like I'm seeing that in Mario Kart World where, with the flow of information as it is, like, so fast paced, like they certainly were thinking about how people are going to share all the strats on like how to like maximize the skill ceiling, and just playing readily into that. And it just increases like the natural like community outreach because of the depth of the game.
I hadn't even considered that. Like, if you wanted to show me a trick, or well, you know what? We did this the other night when I played with some of the guys in our Discord. That one sky temple level, they're like, "Do you want to see how to do this? That crazy trick everyone's doing with the mushroom boost?"
Yeah, on Great Block Ruins.
Yeah. So we all drove over and watched how we did it, and that was all in-game shared open world. Like, there's a social feel to the game that is pretty sweet. And sure, we were in Discord, but if we could just hop in a game chat session and I could pull up your video feed, right? Like, I could actually see what you're doing, not just watch you on my screen, but watch you. I think that's super smart. And I've been a big game chat defender from the start. Go game chat. So
yeah, no, I think it's great. I personally will probably not be using it that much, but when I saw game chat, I was like, yes, this is great. I want Nintendo kids to be having the same experiences that I had growing up on different platforms. I'm so happy that they're like, it may not be like, Miiverse, because I'm a big Miiverse guy. But anything that they do that is going to like be positive for the community, in channeling that like community approach that is so strong in Nintendo, like, I'm all for that.
Yeah, I'm with you there. All right, it's Donkey Kong time, and to do that, in your video that you just mentioned, my thoughts on Switch 2. You said it's going to be funny quoting you to you. As someone who counts Donkey Kong as one of their all-time favorite Nintendo series, let's just say I'm hoping DK is going to be treated much better in the future than how he has most recently. And that was March 9th of 2025. So this was before the Bananza reveal and announcement, before that April Direct. Your hopes? Yeah, I mean, at the very least, they've been giving Donkey Kong more love now than he has in a long time. I just find that nugget, like, that's a perfect time capsule nugget, because, a month later was Bananza's reveal, and now 2 months later we have this Direct that, I mean, let's just be real, Wiz. This is
it's good.
This is Super Mario
I'm
Odyssey
very
2.
happy right
this
now.
Is Donkey Kong 64, 65, whatever you want to call it. We're cooking. They're cooking over there.
Yeah, man. And, in me saying that, you call this a hindsight observation now, but like, when I said that in that moment, like, I was honestly feeling like kind of confident, like, it's time. It's if you look at like what Nintendo has been doing with Donkey Kong, you like within the past couple of years, like, you start to realize, oh yeah, they are gearing up. We're gearing up for the big DK revival.
He has a whole section of a theme park.
Yeah. Parts of the approach I've been kind of mixed on. And so, like, with that quote specifically, like, I wanted DK to get the full treatment and not the just like, oh yeah, we're trying to build up interest for Donkey Kong. Let's give people a port of DKC Returns that kind of has some glaring fundamental flaws to it and doesn't add any new content and is a full price release. And it's like, okay, I see what you're doing. This isn't for me, but I'm waiting for like the big reveal, which I think is coming. And we've waited long enough as far as I'm concerned. The Switch generation was rough to be a Donkey Kong fan. at least having played Tropical Freeze on Wii U and having played DKC Returns on Wii, I'm I will say I was torn on the game at first, but now that we know more about it, I am. As we learn more about it, it's starting to feel like I was saying earlier, the big Nintendo game. So I'm super pumped.
I totally agree. I think it's wild that we have Mario Kart and then ostensibly a 3D Mario game a month later. It's pretty wild and super great momentum out of the gate. So for the idea here for this direct, it was about 17 minutes. You'd be surprised at how long we can stretch a conversation about 17 minutes of gameplay footage and explanations. But I wanted to get just a general vibe about the direct itself, which I think now when I saw Bananza, I mean, I was immediately on board. Just like, I'm here for whatever this is. It looked like 3D Mario-ish, and it's 3D Donkey Kong, which is all you had to do to sell me. I mean, I've loved 3D Donkey Kong since I got a banana yellow cartridge in a garage sale, flaws and all. I love the idea of it, so I was here for more. But with you, some other guys in our Discord, general social media, just pickups from what I've seen, this direct has convinced a lot of people, it seems. And so I just want to get the vibes overall, how we're feeling, and then I just wanted to kind of go through it beat by beat, because the direct was organized fairly well, and we can just sink our teeth into the what do they call it? Banandium gems of this game. Yeah. Banandium gems. So,
yeah, sure.
Give me a vibe check.
Yeah, vibe check is just, I think when we first saw it, it was a shock to the system because as a Donkey Kong fan, I was like, whoa, this is not my Kong. I don't know how to feel about this. This is not my Kong. These are not the Donkey Kong jungle environments that I grew up in. That is like my fondest attachments to a video game world is Donkey Kong Country of all time. So like it was a big shock. And in what we saw of the gameplay, like they really, they just, instead of over elaborating on everything off the rip, they really just gave us the time to let the big tonal shift sort of sink in. And I think that was probably the right call in hindsight, because it let us, as Donkey Kong fans, it let us adjust, and then it set up this moment where it was like, oh wow, there is so much more to this game than meets the eye. And yeah, so I think that's in a general vibe. I think like why that is obviously like a beat for beat situation where every single aspect is so much more developed than like what I feel was like initially led on, because between the trailer, which you can really only show so much, and the treehouse footage, they held a lot back, I think, in the treehouse. And that was where I was like, I could see the potential, but I need to see like, what are you doing for me as a Donkey Kong fan, as opposed to like the core Nintendo appeal of
how
like
are you treating
getting into
the
new
Donkey
mechanics.
Kong lore?
And that is so interesting because that is, people are feeling some type of way, but I love what they're doing with all the characters and the story. I don't know if you want to take the reins on that, but I could go on for a bit.
We'll get there. We'll get to all the good stuff. I think this is Nintendo doesn't like to talk about their developers until the game's out. But I mean, if this is not Koizumi, then holy cow, they have another ace up their sleeve in their dev team, because this is so clearly Koizumi energy and design from both gameplay and just like the general Donkey Kong approach. I mean, that was the guy behind Jungle Beat who gave us all of the different Dreadcon and Con Bonanza. Okay, they are like distant cousins from the Con universe. It's so obviously Koizumi inspired, and that alone gets me excited, right? Just from his pedigree within.
I've got a nugget for that later.
Okay.
You continue.
A little gold nugget that
A
we'll pick
gold
up.
nugget.
A gold nugget.
Yes. A tasty golden banana nugget.
A tasty golden nugget. It just looks like a game that's going to have really great movement and like kinetic energy and fun. It looks fun. And that has me pumped. Like it just seems like a super fun game. So that is, and this Direct just amplified and confirmed all of those thoughts and ideas and feelings. Like, It's going to be so good. So the Direct starts in probably the weirdest, like the least way that I thought this Direct would start, with basically like an anime intro with like singing, somber tone, a gray cast over everything. Like, this is not big ape energy coming in, and it makes me laugh. How did you feel about the opening, like the song?
See, I don't even know. Like, I'll be honest, because that aired at a time where I'm like opening my eyes in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
I was just sitting there, like, my eyes were like half closed, like trying to, it's like, oh my God, Donkey Kong, I gotta get up. And just seeing what was happening, I was like, what the heck? And now I will say, as we get into this, like, the big character reveal was leaked ahead of time. Pauline is the sidekick. And that was leaked ahead of time, which I really wish it wasn't. But
so to me, and maybe I missed more leaks, but after the Bananza stuff was revealed in April with all the Treehouse stuff and like the proper trailer, there was some box art put out and Nintendo official websites went up. And then I think the Korean website uploaded the ROM files that showed the real box art, which includes this young Pauline. Now, to me, that says Pauline was in the game, but I never took that to be like as a companion character or like she was going to be with you the whole time. I wrote down actually that my joke with my friends was that they Last of Us'd Donkey Kong. Big, strong man, tiny little girl moving across, this world. So they Last of Us'd it, which is, he then sent me, someone made a box art of that, which was pretty funny to see.
Oh my gosh.
But so were there more leaks that that implied that she was the companion with you the whole time? Like, I just kind of bought into the idea that this Oddrock was your companion and Pauline was in the game in some capacity. Not that Oddrock was Pauline.
Yeah, so I'm honestly not sure. I mean, I can say I don't think there were additional leaks.
Okay. So however, we knew Pauline was in the game. We just didn't know.
I think extent. What was tricky about it is in some of the previous renders, I think Oddrock was there where Pauline was in the new art. And so you could extrapolate that, oh, maybe Pauline is this Oddrock. But I didn't see a lot of people talking about that. So that might be more of a hindsight observation.
So I've still felt surprised when she burst out of the rock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know that I was necessarily that surprised, but I think I was more surprised by like just how big a presence that she has, like as her own character. It just the dynamic between her and DK is like, it's got that like almost Disney princess vibe to it, and I don't know, it's so wholesome. Like at the very end of the Direct where they close off with that shot of DK and Pauline falling down to one of the sinkholes, and she's like I want to, once we get back to the surface, DK, I just want to sing with you or something like that. I was like, I was ready to shed a tear. Like it was like to me it felt like so much more compelling than anything that Mario has attempted. And that's saying a lot because Mario Odyssey was like, by the end, was like pretty wholesome on its own. And so it really feels like they're trying to do something like additionally special that we haven't really seen before from them. So from Nintendo in a Mario sense, I guess.
Right.
So
They've
I'm
done it.
like
They've tried
super
with
stoked.
Zelda multiple
Yeah.
times and to varying degrees of success. Um, let's let's touch on this. Voice acting's in the game. Pauline, at the very least, Pauline is fully voiced. It sounds like the villains and other ape characters and animals may be speaking like an animalese gibberish that has then words on
Yeah.
top of it that like you can just read. So I don't know if the game is like fully voice acted, but Pauline at the very least, she's got VO. How are you feeling about that? You know, Nintendo feels like the only company that anyone really has an opinion about when they decide to do VO or not. I remember Breath of the Wild being a huge deal.
I'm glad that they're doing it. And I know people have been kind of mixed on some of their attempts, particularly with Zelda and Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. I've seen a lot of people mixed on the execution, but I don't know. I'm not like, I don't have strong opinions about how it's being done. I think there was like maybe one line in the direct that was like maybe a little bit awkward, and it was like when they're having their confrontation with the Voidco Kongs, and Pauline is kind of like stumbling through, like she doesn't feel
Mm,
like super confident in like exactly what she's saying, and she's kind of stumbling a little bit, which is
that'll be part of her
clearly like
arc.
by design. Yeah, clearly part of her arc, but I saw people being a little bit mixed. I think I just need to. I won't know until we get to hear more of it, but I'm not unhappy at all with what we're getting. So
Yeah.
and it's just fun. It's fun to have Pauline fully voice acted and then have next to Donkey Kong who's just making ape noises because Donkey Kong is a gorilla. Like it's that adds an extra layer of charm to everything, more so I think than if we had traditional Nintendo text boxes for everything.
So I think that's actually a good point. So DK makes animal noises, you know, because he ape. And what really caught my so I watched the direct again before hopping on the call with you just to like get really fresh impressions. And a big thing with Donkey Kong over the last couple of years, like you've been saying, is this redesign or really old design redesign, like going back to the spirit of the original cabinet art for Donkey Kong from the arcade game and being inspired by that. So we had the movie, which was, you know, a different design. And then obviously the Mario Kart World teaser in that initial teaser, and everyone was like, oh, what have they done? You know, look how they massacred my boy. Now,
Yeah.
I have always liked the new design. I've like, oh, I'm behind it. I've been behind the new DK design from the get go. And obviously that is all in preparation of this game, right? Um, but there's the face he makes when Pauline pops out of the rock. Or
Oh, it's so good.
later, yeah, or I think later, I wrote it down at like a minute 28 in the direct. His eyes shoot out like a Looney Tune who would be like gawking at a character or something. But he shoots out in surprise. His face is just so stretchy and animated. Like it embraces the rule of cartoons and cartoon characters where they can stretch and bend and break the laws of all known physics because they're not real. They're cartoons. And so within that, then they can do things that are fun, dynamic, and expressive and video gamey, or, you know, Bugs Bunny can do all sorts of stuff, or Daffy Duck can get shot in the face and Bill just spins around his head, right? It they're embracing the cartooniness of it. And I know Donkey Kong had a cartoon. I watched it as a kid, but this is on a different level. And I think that I'm so excited to see all of the faces and animations and expressions and cutscenes with him because he feels, even though he is not saying something per se, he is saying something with his body language and facial animations and things like that. And it got me thinking, so I went back and watched a couple of Tropical Freeze trailers, and he makes faces, he expresses emotion. There's the one scene with the owl boss who like smashes a banana, and he looks offended and then angry because they attack the banana. And it's good, but it's so constrained to that design and character. He cannot break the mold of an ape, as if he is bound to the laws of real nature. While he does look like a cartoon, he is designed, right? He is a design. You wouldn't see a real gorilla walking around like that, or a real ape, or what have you. But he can't leave the constraints of his physical body. He doesn't stretch and animate and express beyond that. And just, now, I watched these back to back, but it just felt so stiff, where before I would have been like, this is great animation. And it is. Retro Studios does a phenomenal job in Tropical Freeze with the animation. The superb. But he just looks like, I actually think this is a really good example of like graphics versus art direction. Now, Tropical Freeze has superb art direction in the level design and the characters. Everything is cohesive. That game will look great forever. But just in the Donkey Kong models, Donkey Kong and Tropical Freeze, his fur is so fluffy and animated, just right. The fur is next level, right? It's so good. And
Can I just say one thing really quick? This is the one thing, because I have talked about how I am mixed on the design. The one thing that I really wish could change in Bananza is the fur. And I feel like it might be a resource thing, because if you look closely at the fur just does not hold a candle to the Tropical Freeze fur.
Right,
it almost looks like feather. It almost looks like feathers on him. And that's like my one lasting hang up, I would say.
Sure, but so that's like the art direction side of it, right? Like they've clearly chosen this opinionated design about Donkey Kong overall, just in totality, from default pants, to the tie and his fur and the way his face stretches and morphs. And so they both are Donkey Kong, but they're both two completely different paths that work for their intended games. And I think it would be a really great case study, or like a GMTK Mark Brown video of like design from like a graphical perspective and art direction perspective. Like that would be a good example pairing, I think, just the way they're approaching Donkey Kong here. And so yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty expressive game that says a lot, both in its voice acting and in its character animations and things like that, because it looks good.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with the idea of the two designs working for two different types of games. Because yeah, like speaking, as I said, I have been mixed on the design, and it was something that took some time for me to adjust to, because I mean, I generally really like Donkey Kong feeling like kind of his own thing, like detached from Mario, because that's kind of like what he was. And I mean, when you see Donkey Kong in his own games, like in Tropical Freeze, it looks fantastic in its own way. And he also is like not as expressive as like a cartoon character, but I really liked that the more aggressive, kind of brutish angle on him, because he didn't often get super silly, but when he did, it was like the break in the character that was like very entertaining for me personally. I think like in the opening to Returns, where all the animals are getting hypnotized and the tikis are coming into DK's hut to hypnotize him, and he's just staring him down, and then is just completely unaffected, maybe potentially because of how dopey he is, and then he just lets out a big grin, and like that to me is like, that was like the perfect amount of just being dopey without like, in a sense, overdoing it. That's not to say I think they're overdoing it in this game. It's just a different feel.
You know what just came to me? It just popped in my head. the Smash Brother character reveals. Do you remember those? That was
Yeah,
so expressive.
super
Um,
expressive. Yeah, I think the
the
old
power of
design.
CG.
Yeah, I think the old design had the potential to. I think, one thing that I was seeing a lot at the time when people were really talking about this that bothered me was like people were comparing side by side the new design with like his Mario Kart 8 design. And
mm,
his Mario Kart 8 design is like not at all indicative of what they've been able to do with the character in the past with his previous design. And so that like bugged me. But I feel like he wasn't shining as much in his appearance in Mario games as he was in his own games. And so that is really interesting when you try to bring Donkey Kong kind of potentially closer into the Mario world, especially by including Pauline. I think seeing him and Pauline interact in this way, it really told me, yes, this makes sense. Like everything they're doing is for a reason. It's not just because they want to move away from what Rare did. Everything serves a purpose. And so if you want to bring Donkey Kong potentially into the Mario world in a more cohesive way, with Pauline kind of like as the bridge, having, you know, reemerged as a Mario character in Mario Odyssey and all these spin-offs now, I think it makes perfect sense what they're doing at this point.
well, yeah. Also, how do we get New Donk City if we don't have a new Donk? You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
Yeah.
Pauline, how's she going to be mayor? You got to have a prequel. We got to explain the deep lore of Donkey Kong.
Yeah. And yeah, people I oh man,
It's great.
that is a
We're just
interesting
going to keep
rabbit
bashing
hole.
on the lore fans. So, the most vital piece of Donkey Kong lore is movement. If Donkey Kong don't move good, is it even Donkey Kong? You know what I'm saying? From the pedigree of Donkey Kong Country and all of those games to even 64 a little bit, like it has its own flavor of movement that does have a heft and feel, and those 5 cons do feel different. But the next part of the direct was focused on like what I would say the core move set of the game, which is how Donkey Kong moves and then how Donkey Kong moves with objects that he's holding. I'm really curious what you think about this because of your affinity for Super Mario 64, the speed running, that desire of like freedom of movement, kinetic energy, and things like that. So I'm really curious what you think about this like core move set that they're showing off.
Sure, yeah. I am pretty impressed with it. I think the interesting thing about this game is that, sometimes in order to get like a really cool movement system, obviously in order to get the player to use that sort of stuff, you need good level design. But also there's like limitations to what you can do at times. And I think that's part of what makes Super Mario 64 really engaging is like it can feel unintuitive at times, but once you figure out what the limitations are and how to work around them, then like the game like really begins to open up. In this Donkey Kong game, I'm not really getting that vibe. I'm almost getting like you can really just almost effortlessly go anywhere, especially with the climbing, because it's looking like you can just climb wherever you want. There's no stamina system like Breath of the Wild, and you don't need to have a ledge like you would normally be, I don't know, wall bouncing into a dive over top, a dive back over a ledge like you would in Super Mario Odyssey. And so you're able to just go wherever you want. And so like the X factor is the destruction. And there's like little things that I saw that gave me the country vibes, which was like there's like one shot of DK just like rolling through a little path on the ground. And I think their intention, I'm not sure if the person that is playing in that gameplay footage is just like spamming the roll button over and over again, But one thing that is really compelling about the country games, I'll say the SNES trilogy, because this isn't exactly the case in the retro
the Wii
games.
and Wii U ones. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Once you roll into an enemy, it gives you like an explosive boost and acceleration. And
Mm-hmm.
so that just is an element that adds so much expressive flow to the game. And so I was seeing like a little bit of that, but then also what was really selling me was going a little bit further back to the treehouse. I felt like the presenters were really focused on just showing the most basic gameplay possible to like kind of get people on board and be like, you can like punch through walls, you can dig holes and climb objects. But in this direct, they were like, oh yeah, do a roll attack, jump off, and then ground pound, and then roll into an enemy and punch an enemy into a wall, explode the wall, and then jump onto an enemy, climb up this big hulking crocodile head and tear a chunk out of its head and throw it at something else. Like the destruction and the core movement feels like it is building off of each other and flowing into each other seamlessly, and that is like super important. And so anything to just keep players, digging chunks out of the ground and using that to augment your moveset even more. There's just like so many layers to it. And so it is different, but it is like reminiscent of the like addictive nature of past Donkey Kong games, but also with its own like additional layers that are like super exciting.
Yeah, I wrote down that it looked highly kinetic and responsive / reactive. They even say in the direct chain reactions, and that was at the part where they were like, punch this enemy, and the enemy flew back, hit the wall, and because the enemy was made of a certain material, it exploded in the wall, things blew out of the wall. So like it's definitely a responsive game, and I don't mean that in the like game feel of it. Obviously we don't know how it feels. I'm going to assume it feels good in the hand, but more responsive of like what you do impacts the world quite literally with Donkey Kong in this case. But then there's this push and pull with the player in the world that seems like seems super fun. Where I think that really shined was with those chunk jumps and turf surfs, like using a chunk of the earth to then, like you said, augment your movement. The double jump, the turf surf is going to be the best move in the game, bar none.
Oh
just
yeah,
because oh my
absolutely.
gosh, the spinning top, frenetic.
You can like kickflip off a chunk. Did you see that? I was looking at
No,
that earlier.
I didn't see the kickflip. Clearly, they've been playing Tony Hawk.
Yeah, clearly, like Mario Kart, freaking Donkey Kong. What is going on with these devs, man? They're nuts.
They grew up playing Tony Hawk.
Yeah, there's one shot where you have like an ice chunk and you're using it to circumvent like a lava pit, and your ice chunk is melting as you're going over the lava pit and then jumping out, and it looks like Donkey Kong just does a kickflip and discards whatever is barely left of his little ice chunk and lands on the ground. It's like, oh, it's so good.
It does remind me of Odyssey, like the surprising amount of things that you could do with Cappy and then movement and jumping off of that. This is very reminiscent of that to me, where you can grab a piece of the earth, but you could throw it at an enemy. You could aim it and throw it. You can ride it like a skateboard. You can double jump off of it. You can just bash more earth with it and break more things because you have basically a hammer now. So like,
it's so seamless. It's so many options and it's so seamless. Like, especially with the transformations. Like, I'm working on a little piece right now that is talking about some of this stuff. And like, I mean, transformations on their own are super cool and exciting, but the fact that they're so different from one another, and then you can seamlessly transition in between them. You can start out as a zebra running down a path, super speed, leap off, and then turn and get the glide out. And like, it's not for free. Like, you have to be engaging with the world and gathering energy and all that in order to do some of these crazier moves, but it's so seamless. And that, I think, is going to once people like get the game in their hands, like I think they're gonna feel that, and that is like to me is I'm gonna anger you for a sec, but like that to me is like the Odyssey difference versus Galaxy, where it is
Mm.
so the momentum and the seamless nature of everything is just that is like the next level of Nintendo game design that they've been pushing towards, in my opinion.
It's definitely sandboxy, right? Like you and I have talked
Yeah.
about this at length. The sandbox versus the more linear goal-based levels. I forget. I actually forget the term that they use. It's sandbox and anyway,
Course clear.
course clear. Thank you. The course clear levels. Obviously, this is a sandbox with the different worlds that you're running around and doing things. So it looks like they just want you to get in there and play with the systems and react. They want you to react to the world while the world reacts to you, and I think that's super enticing. Let's talk about those Bonanza powers really quick, since they fall in movement. You brought them up.
Yep.
They showed 3 of them. I assume there are more. Can we just talk
Agreed.
about how like absolutely jacked and caked up Donkey Kong looks when he is all 3 of these? Like, what on earth is this is what I said earlier. This is clearly the Jungle Beat team in some way. Like, those people were like, I want to do more crazy monkey designs.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, man. The zebra is so unhinged to me.
Yeah.
And you know what's so weird? Like, I don't know if you noticed this, but so like to kind of explain the mechanic for people that may not know, there's these elders in the game. What we've seen is these ancient looking animal guys. There's a gorilla, there's a zebra, and there's an ostrich elder. And I don't know that the zebra is like in the snow world, but when we see shots of the snow world, we see these zebra NPCs and they're wearing like winter coats. And so like there's like a almost savannah looking level, and I'm wondering if you're getting the zebra in the winter world, and like the zebra is just so out there, and it is so hilarious to me. I mean, they're all hilarious, but the zebra one in particular just did something to me.
I've been looking up this joke. There's a guy on YouTube, Try. I think he's a little triangle, little animated.
Oh,
triangle.
I've seen that guy. I was just watching one of his videos earlier.
Yeah, so he put one up about Bonanza, and he jokes about the zebra basically never skipping like leg day.
Oh yeah,
but also it's Marty from what are those movies? I like to move it with the little
Madagascar.
Madagascar. He's like, look what they did to my boy. It's a Marty. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. Everyone should go check out Try. His videos are very fun. So I think they look cool in like a goofy, over the top sense, especially when they introduce them in the video. I don't know if this is going to happen in the game, but when they show Kong Bananza, there are literally air horns in the background, like at a basketball game or something. Like,
dude, I'm telling you, this is what I'm saying about these younger developers. This is. I'm so serious about this. We have these younger developers that are doing things that are like. They're playing into the memes, man.
I mean,
they're down with the kids.
That is a meme moment for sure.
This game too, with the whole destruction and like digging thing, the children yearn for the mines, man. They grew up with Minecraft. This is what they're doing.
Yeah. Roblox. I mean, it's
so interesting.
They look like cool ways to introduce new movement. In a time-limited scale. I'm curious how required they will be. One of my big, I guess, my hang-up with the game is, like, since everything is destructible, what does that mean for solving the puzzles, the platforming? Like, in Odyssey, there were moons everywhere. There were, 9 bajillion of them. So, like, you just stumble across a moon or whatever, but there you still had to like get to the spot. Like, you didn't just like throw a fireball and a moon pop out. You know what I'm saying? Like in this game, you can punch a wall and there just be a banana there, and that banana then will do things later on. So I'm curious how they balance.
I have a lot
that.
of feelings.
Yeah,
I have a lot of feelings on this.
Well, tell me, because I feel like it's something I'm not going to know until I play it. Like I can imagine how it could go right or wrong, but I can't judge that one yet, I don't think.
Yeah, so this was a thing that I was pretty concerned about when we first learned about the game. Like I was saying earlier, in the treehouse, they were just digging a lot, it seemed like. And
Sure.
so, I feel like and they even emphasize the fact, like, yeah, you can destroy the entire level if you want to. And then you can go onto the map screen and just press a button and it all refills back in, all the level design.
The kids
And
will
so
love that.
the kids will absolutely love that. But yeah, then the concern is like, what about people that want like tried and true level design, especially like with Donkey Kong games that are known for their super tight and exciting level design? This was a big concern of mine, but I'm honestly not feeling as concerned as I did before, particularly because of what they emphasized in how all these moves can be used to just seamlessly chain together, and really emphasizing how you interact with enemies to like you were saying, chain reactions. There's also some other elements. I don't know how heavily you want to get into this, but like you have like a skill tree where you can upgrade certain abilities,
that's what I want to
unlock
talk
new
about
ones.
next. Yeah, I want to. Yeah.
So like one wrinkle of that is like there's this like the sonar ability. It's called the hand slap. The hand slap has been in past Donkey Kong games, but in this game, you slap the ground and there's a sonar effect that will show you things of note inside walls that are nearby. And one aspect of the skill tree is you can like increase the range of your hand slap sonar. And so that kind of tells me that like, maybe I don't want to dig everywhere and find all the collectibles. But what I can do is I can follow the level design, and hopefully, these enemies are purposely being laid down in many different areas as they are in this direct, where you punch a enemy and it uncovers a wall and you find a secret. Additionally, you use your sonar, you can upgrade that, and so instead of like wasting a bunch of time pounding away at every wall, you just go around, activate your sonar ability, and that's how you find these collectibles. So this is like, this is something they've been building on since Breath of the Wild, where, the concern is, you typically design games to protect the player from themselves. This is what Mark Brown, GMTK, put so succinctly. And, players don't, like you said at the beginning of this, players don't always know what they want. And so it's super challenging to get players into the mode for the best experience for them. And so I think this is something that they're just continually iterating upon. And so it may not be perfect in Bonanza, but I think we're seeing a lot of elements that are leading me to believe that, it really is like what you make of it. And the last thing that I want is to be forced to dig all the time. And so as long as, for me, if it facilitates different play styles through all these different elements, then I will be happy, because I know I can tailor the experience the way that works best for me. But it's like like I said, the big challenge is like, how do you get players to naturally do that without, maybe playing into like their spontaneous urges to just like, fixate on like, I gotta collect every last thing before I move on. That was like something that I hope players can potentially break out of, because like not collecting every last thing and not holding on to all my consumable items for that one moment, for that one final boss fight where I need them. Like when I learned for myself to break out of those habits, it made these types of games so much more enjoyable. So It's like, yeah, this is like the big challenge.
Because you're fully engaging with the
Yeah.
systems on display. That leaning into your own playstyle thing, I mean, I think that's a perfect. Well, it's a little bit later in the direct. I guess we're not really going in order, but it's only 17 minutes. I think everyone will get the picture.
Yeah.
But you could take the currency in the game, various forms of currency, banana chips, which is great, or coins or whatever they're called. They look so good. Those let you buy, where is it? Chips turn into gems, so you can buy more gems. Gems turn into skill points, so that's your skill tree, like stronger punches, more health, the sonar thing. The stronger punches is interesting because not just from a damage perspective, but there's also seems to be like a level of toughness in material in the game, from like soft sand to probably diamonds or something. I don't know. And so Donkey Kong can only punch through so much of the level of a materials before you would have to level it up, which I think that's probably part of the intentional level design. Like, as you go deeper, it would get stronger, right? So you can't necessarily destroy a whole level the first time you get there because you may not be powerful enough. So that probably has some like replay value of coming back when you're stronger and can punch through. So there's these skills that you can upgrade, but then there are fossils throughout the world. And if you find fossils, you can trade those in for outfits. And everyone knows that the game doesn't matter if your character doesn't look good. And I'm just, whoever was like, we should let them get outfits for both Donkey Kong and Pauline.
So smart.
When I saw that you could get an outfit for her, just as I was like, worth it. This game, awesome. Now, am I biased because I have an almost 3-year-old child, so it's fun to dress up little people? It's great. Oh my gosh. The outfit stuff looks amazing. I like naked as one of them for Donkey Kong. So you can have no pants and no tie, or just the tie. So you can get that classic feel, but the outfits just look so cute. And they also have perks and abilities that augment different aspects. So I imagine you're going to want to be changing your outfit regularly and engaging with that. So you have the skill tree, you have the outfits, which I think are going to be a blast. That is going to make each playthrough unique, and then, good outfits. Just please have very good outfits.
It's funny how, like, what we've seen of Donkey Kong is, like, you're not gonna maybe we'll see like hats and stuff, but you're not gonna give DK a shirt. So you will give him pants and a tie,
a
tie, and you can customize the tie. It is so funny to me.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good time. I mean, you could. So Diddy Kong and Dixie Kong are in the game for sure, along with Cranky. So we at least have core ones now. Please, Nintendo, please settle the lawsuits, whatever you have to do. Put Chunky Kong in this game. Free the chunk.
What? Chunky
I'm just
Kong
telling
is
you,
a rare
if we
character.
have chunk jumps and, surf turf, and just we pick up chunks out of the ground, Chunky Kong has to be in this game.
Free my boy.
Free
Chunky Kong.
And you can throw Lanky and Tiny in too, but bring back Chunky. I think the skill points and outfits are going to be a really enticing reason beyond just, I need X amount of moons to move on to the next level. This is more like, I need more Banandium gems to get this next skill that I want in my tree, which will then let me have that bigger, wider sonar or what have you. So I think that's pretty smart and engaging in that way.
It is so strange for a Donkey Kong game, though, isn't it? Like, I never would have imagined.
I mean,
the outfits I could imagine, but like with their additional effects and like a skill tree, that's not something I ever imagined.
I'm trying to think of a Nintendo game, a core Nintendo game with a skill tree. Probably a Xenoblade has a skill tree. I haven't played a Xenoblade, but it's RPG.
Yep. Because Nintendo typically they don't often make that a big focus of their core pillars. It's more so like focusing heavily on like how the game feels in your hands, and that's where a lot of the variables come in. But yeah, like I'm a keep going back to this. The children yearn for the minds, and they love their dopamine fixes. They love seeing that number go up, man.
They
Like
do.
this is yeah, I really think this is a big thing. Like this is what young designers are really into right now.
It's gonna be good. I in my notes here, the challenge rooms, the ruins. This is more than I thought. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I kind of thought these would be like platforming puzzle rooms. And while there are platforming challenges, there are battle challenges. There are these puzzle rooms where like you have to maybe destroy the environment in a certain way to navigate through it. Side scrolling stages? Like, guys, you're telling me I get 2D Donkey Kong and my 3D Donkey Kong? And and they said and more. And oh my goodness, I'm excited for these. These feel like really good opportunities to surprise and delight, like the little 2D sections in Odyssey or in Mario Wonder with all the Wonder Sea transformations. This feels like a really good opportunity for them to just do whatever they wanted to do. Again, outside of the constraints of whatever maybe the world design that they have before. Like there's clearly homages to Donkey Kong Country, there's homages to the arcade game, and so taking just those two examples and then what I know about other games where they surprise and delight, like the end of Odyssey with its surprise final-ish area, if you can really call it an area, world level, whatever. Like I see, maybe that's where Chunky is. He's down in a challenge room. I don't know.
Chunky and the Kremlings, perhaps.
Oh my gosh. Can we get K. Rool in this art style? Where is the K. Rool art version in this art style? Because
I think we might, man.
dude, his gold belly alone is so convincing. Like,
dude, look at the freaking enemy designs in this game, dude. Like, have you noticed we've got the gators, like the skeletons, the all the iconography of the crocodile designs on the ones that you can like destroy. I think there
twist.
could be some subplot going on where, you know, maybe Void Kong is reviving an ancient evil from the 1990s and K. Rool is coming back. It's a big possibility.
As long as I can put him in an outfit and give him his pirate hat. That's what I'm looking for, baby.
This is maybe a little off topic, but I remember when Tropical Freeze was coming out and they had yet to reveal Cranky as like the final playable character. I don't know if you remember this, but like there was a big controversy where like at the Game Awards that year, it was like the Spike Awards, and Nintendo's big presence at the Video Game Awards was they had a big announcement
I do remember
about
this.
Donkey Kong, and it was Cranky Kong, and Reggie was wearing a Metroid pin, and people were so pissed. Like that, oh my gosh, it was so strange.
Knew what he was doing.
I remember at that time, before we knew that Cranky was like the final playable character, people were speculating on what it could be. And one thing that people were going back to was like, so we had Donkey and Diddy, Dixie is the additional partner character, and a lot of people were suggesting that the final character would have been like a new primary character in place of Donkey Kong. So one thing that people were theorizing was Funky Kong, which he ended up made it into the Switch version. But one thing that was so funny that like I wish happened so bad was people were wishing for King K. Rool to pop up in a fake Donkey Kong costume. And so you're running around as King K. Rool dressed up as Donkey Kong, and he is like the primary character. How hilarious would that have been? Like,
oh my gosh.
Just as a pure joke, I would have ate that up.
They can probably, I'm sure the people have modded that in at this point. You can do that anywhere. the kind of like the back chunk. We got to keep using the word chunk. The back chunk of the Direct probably, quite honestly, had the most surprises for me, just because I didn't expect all of these supplemental features to be so fleshed out and thought of and included. Of course, there's 2-player co-op. What, ever since Galaxy, I feel like every Mario 3D platformer kind of game from Nintendo has had a co-op mode. But they've always been fairly
It's like the little brother mode.
Right. And
that's what I call it.
And this is a good little brother mode or kid mode. Like, if I was letting my kid play games at this age, this would be kind of the mode. What I thought was, it seems far more interactive. Like, my first thought, obviously, is the Galaxy mode, right? Co-star mode.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just point and shoot your bits and wave your little star around. This is using a similar idea, mouse mode to control a cursor. But you shoot lyrics at enemies and the words pop up on screen, and they're like, then you can copy the materials in the world
goofy.
So they can blow up or react like they would if they're materials. It seems so much more in depth, and I actually could see this being a part of like a speedrunning strat where like in one hand is a Joy-Con that you're doing everything with, and the other hand is mouse mode to like shoot things. Like, I think people will do some sick stuff with it. But it also just looks like a more engaging co-op mode for that second person. So I don't know if you like felt as cool about co-op mode as I did, but it seemed pretty neat.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of experience with these kinds of co-op systems, but I see the value in them. One thing that I always think about is way back in the day, I remember watching my brother and his girlfriend at the time playing Galaxy 2 in that mode with the little Luma behind him, stunning and all that stuff. And that was cool. That was like a very awesome experience for them. And so I love having those kinds of things in games. And yeah, I think the implementation, it varies whether it feels like it really earns its way in. I think conversely, like this one's looking pretty decent. Conversely, I'm thinking about Pikmin 4 right now, where Pikmin 3 had at least on the Switch, I'm not sure if the Wii U version was like this, but on the Switch they had a pretty robust co-op system where you have like 2 captains going at the same time. But in Pikmin 4, they opted out of that, probably because of the technical demands on the Switch, exploring these huge Pikmin 4 environments. Pikmin 4 environments the levels are way bigger than anything we saw in the series prior. And so the co-op mode in that it's called Pebble Pitcher. So it's like you're using the motion controls or maybe just the analog stick. And it's almost like a very basic prototype of this mode. And people were very unsatisfied with that, having just played a really amazing co-op mode in Pikmin 3. And so this one, there's just so many more variables to it, especially with the mouse mode and the copying of the materials. So it looks like they're trying to improve there. So yeah, I think it's a good addition. And then you've got DK Artist.
Dude, we're gonna... All right. It's clearly a callback to Super Mario 64, 64DS, where you can play with Mario's face, right? So it's like Donkey Kong sculptures, basically, where you can add and mold and shape. It kind of reminded me of Dreams on PlayStation, like this mold and 3D modeling type of thing. So using the mouse controls on the Switch 2, you can mold and shape these Donkey Kong sculptures and make whatever you want. And whatever you want, we're going to see some disgusting things, I think, in Donkey Kong Artist mode, and Nintendo's clearly prepared for it they've just signed it off because they're putting the mode in. But, I don't think the world's prepared for what people are about to do with Donkey Kong Artists. Is all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. I mean, Nintendo loves this kind of stuff dating back super far with like Mario Paint and
Mm,
stuff. I remember when I was working on the big Pikmin retrospective, that was one thing that one of the developers emphasized was like, especially Miyamoto loves like turning games into creation tools, which
mm-hmm.
then, perhaps more recently evolved into Mario Maker. And yeah, so it's funny that it's in DK here. I'm sure if it wasn't going to be DK, it was going to be some other game where one of their first thoughts was like, we got to use this mouse mode for some creative game. And a lot of people were thinking that a new Mario Paint was like a lock, but turns out, with this probably like with this physics or whatever the system is for the destruction of the world, like that makes sense in order to like sculpt these objects. It just works hand in hand with the mouse and the physics there to sculpt some unhinged DK looking art pieces.
That's what we'll call
I
them.
don't
I mean, I fully believe like a Mario Maker 3 will come out with mouse mode and probably like a paint mode and stuff like that. So the mouse is here to stay for sure.
Yep.
Amiibo support, you gotta love Amiibo. They're there. I did like that they included the theme park wristbands that are Amiibo, the 2 Donkey Kong
yeah,
ones.
I noticed that.
I was like, making me jealous. Thanks, Nintendo. Poor Amiibo collectors that like now have to go to a theme park multiple times to get them all. Poor collectors.
I mean, that Amiibo is like, isn't it like $30 now?
It is, but you know what? This game should cost $100. So.
Oh, come on. You've lost me.
Yeah, I did. The other like feature that I wasn't the end, but I was just kind of surprised at the game share support and like how robust it is. Not only can you just game share with another Switch 2 locally, you can game share over game chat online with Switch 2 and with a Switch 1 in the same room, which just feels like
I have so many
sales
questions
pitch.
there.
Well, I mean, it's just beaming a video version of the game, right? And so all you
not
have
necessarily
to do...
like how it works technologically, but like it's weird to think that you can beam it to a Switch 1 when the multiplayer mode is like using the mouse mode.
This is true.
The Switch 1 is not capable of.
So you probably analog stick or gyro. Could be gyro.
Yeah, could be.
So that it's cool. It's interesting. I like we said with Mario Kart earlier. They seem to be leaning into as much as possible with all of the Switch support. We actually didn't see any camera support, so maybe that's another thing we'll see down the line. Maybe you can
oh my god,
DK artist your face. Oh no, this is a bad idea. Don't do that, Nintendo.
We've gone too far.
We've gone. They didn't stop to ask whether or not they should. There is one more thing. Oh, go ahead, Wiz. Go ahead.
Well, I have my own one more thing, which is that hidden nugget. But if you want to talk about the end of the Direct, I can save it for the next point.
Oh, it wasn't the end of the Direct, wasn't my one more thing. So give me the nugget. Give the golden nugget.
Okay, yeah.
Give it to me.
Yeah, so this is a pretty big deal, in my opinion. I think we touched on this a little bit, which was one of the big questions is who is making this game? And presumably, like we've been talking about, like it looks like the Super Mario Odyssey team is making this. It's all over the stylings of the game. And a lot of people have been wondering, what does this mean for 3D Mario? Well, I have a little nugget of information and theory. It is partially a rumor, so you got to take it with a grain of salt. But I'm not sure if you're familiar with this creator, but they go by Kiwi Talks. They do the developer interviews with a lot of Bethesda and Retro Studios ex developers. Really recommend their channel. And he says he has a lot of industry contacts at this point, people that are very familiar with Donkey Kong, having talked to a lot of people that worked on Tropical Freeze and Returns. And he's heard a rumor that, I'm going to quote him directly: DK Bonanza is being developed by a new team that was spun off from the Odyssey team. There are a lot of younger devs in the Odyssey team that grew up playing the DKC games and wanted to make one. There's one part of this that I won't say because it could be potentially spoilers, but the last part of it is 3D Mario is still on the way. So that, if this is true, this is big news. And if we can extrapolate that across Nintendo, when we were talking about Animal Crossing earlier, it made me think, could there be Animal Crossing and Splatoon development running concurrently? We're getting a Splatoon spinoff.
Yeah, can we? I totally forgot about that. They just announce it in their app like one day. Hey, Splatoon spinoff, everybody. Here you go. Yeah, that's cool. I forgot about that. If we're getting a 3D Mario within any time within the next year or two, like, oh my gosh, we are feasting.
It seems absurd, doesn't it? But if you think about it, it makes perfect sense. How better to, really capitalize off the Switch by other than staffing up these teams and letting them do more. Like, I think that, this makes perfect sense. And, when you have such incredible leadership in Nintendo and such a, there's so much foundational knowledge running through these teams that if you're able to, additionally, going back to this comment, he says younger devs in the Odyssey team that grew up playing the DKC games. I don't know if you feel the same way, but just in the content that we've seen of Bonanza, it really feels that way. That I was worried about this game potentially not really feeling like Donkey Kong, but I'm seeing a lot of the passion there for the series. I think there's just a lot of things lining up that really makes me think that this is true. And, with this being the iterative generation on the Switch and really being able to knock things out of the park by, letting their heavy hitting teams produce even more games like this. If that, like you said, if that brings us Mario next year, that is absolutely insane. So
it would,
pretty exciting time.
I'm going to be very excited for the interview series that will inevitably come out for this game. Their
yes,
not
the Ask the Developer.
Nintendo Ask, yeah,
dying to see that.
Yeah, that's going to be a pretty rich interview series, I think, which is only I can't believe this game is 3 weeks away.
I know, right? Oh
it doesn't even feel. I keep forgetting that, and it's. I'm taking a last minute trip here in a couple of weeks, and I actually had the thought. I was like, "Oh, is this game going to come out while I'm out of town? Am I going to start playing this game on the go?" It's the week after I get back, so that part will be fine. But I love that it is so soon, and that is such an exciting thing. The last thing that I wanted to talk about from the Direct, because I feel like we've covered all of the ground from these 17 minutes, except for, and this ties in pretty well with what you were just saying, with growing up on DKC and just love for Donkey Kong. Dude, the music, oh my gosh. I mean, I know they pulled out the obvious heavy hitters, but the DK rap is in there.
Oh yeah, oh my gosh, it's so good.
If they do anything even if they do anything even remotely close to what they've done in Mario Kart World, we are going to have some of the greatest Donkey Kong music and renditions of Donkey Kong music, I think, on our hands here. This is pretty sweet, but also I'm assuming this is music in the game, and I'm curious what context it may be, but there are more songs with lyrics than I thought, not just the rap, but there's more lyrics to the music, and I'm getting like a Persona vibe. Like the Persona battle music always is usually kind of like has a high energy and momentum to it, but has some sort of hip hop rappy lyrics to it, just like an energy to it. So I'm curious where that, if probably boss music maybe, I don't know. Assuming it is in-game music, I'm curious where in the game, but it feels like there's some experimentation while also leaning on the classics here, but all of it sounds, even some ARMS kind of vibes when I pause and think about it, like that ARMS theme, oh, I love ARMS music. The best thing ARMS gave us was its theme song.
That is a good theme.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. How are you feeling about the music they played in this thing?
Dude, oh man, it's so strange. Like, I mean, with Donkey Kong, so much of it is tied to David Wise and Grant Kirkhope, and doesn't seem like they are involved unless they are under heavy NDA, which is interesting. But I mean, like, yeah, I've been listening to the Mario Kart soundtrack, and those it really lines up. Like, they're going heavy on, I don't want to say it in a cynical way like nostalgia farming, but those renditions in Mario Kart are so good. Like, it feels like a celebration of the series.
When you have a library of some of the greatest video game music of all time, like, you kind of gotta cash in on it, dude. All I'm gonna say.
Yeah, and so, like, I'm just anticipating, like, oh my gosh, what are they gonna do with Sticker Brush Symphony, man? Aquatic ambience, like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be nuts. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. I hope that they put these Switch 2 game soundtracks on the NSO app sooner rather than later, because low key the music app is one of my favorite perks of having the NSO subscription. It's great. It's super smart, seamless, and it's usually easier if the game's on there. It's easier than going to YouTube or something to get the songs.
Yeah, for sure.
I would love, like, the Mario Kart World soundtrack needs to be on there. Just give it to us. It's good. Like,
yeah, it's kind of surprising that it's not. Yeah, it's good marketing for the game too.
Oh my gosh, I would be using your music app all day while I'm working. Shuffle those 200 songs.
Yep.
It is crazy. But any last Bananza thoughts before the game's out here in a few weeks?
I don't know. Are
you going Bananza? Are you Bananza for Bananza?
I'm going Bananza, man. I'm going Bananza. Like, it's been a very strange turnaround coming off of, like, we had that Mario Kart Direct leading up to the game, which just did not really appeal to the masses from my, like, it just didn't seem like it revealed that much about the game that we didn't already know. And so
right.
Yeah, and there was, like, so much going on with this game that, like, it's honestly still sinking in what all the possibilities are. And in a single player game like this, they're still holding stuff close to their chest. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, the developers wanted to keep Pauline a secret until the very launch of the game, and marketing was like, no, we have to show this because it is, like,
the people must
the cornerstone
know.
of tying the entire series together, and it's like it has so much like inherent appeal to it. So like there could be so much more, and like even if it is like mostly just what we know now, I don't know, man. I find these types of Nintendo games in the modern era, the ones that, you know, are focused on the sandbox design, really freaking interesting. So even if it doesn't meet like whatever absurd expectations that have been built up in my mind over the last 20 years of waiting for a new 3D Donkey Kong game after DK64, one of my all-time favorite childhood games. Like, I think I'm just okay to see what they want to do and what that's going to mean moving forward. So I'm super hype at this point.
All aboard the hype train, everybody. Chew, chew. Or a banana. There's got to be a banana pun in there somewhere. I don't know. The banana station. Everyone, peel in to Banana Station.
There you go.
There, I got a banana themed pun in there. Wiz, thank you so much for coming on the show, man, to talk Donkey Kong with me.
Thank you for having me.
This is fun. Who needs a whole direct? We can just have a Donkey Kong Direct. That's all we need. We can do it.
For sure.
The fine folks can find you on the internet at Wizawhat on YouTube. What is the second channel like name? I know it's like Wizzy, but I don't know the handle for it.
So the handle, I recently soft launched a second channel. If you search, I think the best way to find it is to search at Wizzy Stizzy. That is the handle, Wizzy Stizzy. WIZZY
Yeah. There will be a link in the show notes. So the reason I mentioned the second channel, besides, you know, the things, is you have the I'm kind of torn on Donkey Kong Bananza video there. And I think you're working on another Bananza video that will probably go there. So definitely check that out. But then if you want more video essays like the good and proper kind, you know what I'm saying? You go over to Wizawhat on YouTube there and check that out. You do have a Donkey Kong Country retrospective in the works that I do know a little bit about. So there's plenty of Donkey Kong love from Wiz coming your way on the YouTube side.
Yeah, it's been a while since I put a traditional upload out, but I am cooking on a lot of different things right now, including, like you mentioned, I've got a Donkey Kong Bananza Part 2 little thingy that I'm literally editing today, hoping to put that out as soon as possible. Might even be up by the time this podcast goes up, because I'm really crunching on that. I've got another video that is coming up on the second channel after that, which I'm also crunching on. That's probably going to be up next week.
Okay.
Secret embargo thing. So I'm not going to talk about it until it's up.
We can't break the embargoes like Donkey Kong breaks terrain.
That's right. And big DKC1 retrospective that is in the editing phase now. I'm cutting the audio. Really excited about that, and hoping that starts a series off of me of talking about a lot of Donkey Kong on the main channel, because it's one of my favorite series of all time. That's what I'm working on.
Sweet. There will be links to those channels and videos, if some of those are out by the time this episode comes out, in the show notes, which you can check out in your podcast player, or go over to maxfrequency.net/MFP-49. As for me, you can just go over to maxfrequency.net, see my writing and all the other podcasts. There's the YouTube essays myself, which I am working on some more for over there. Got some stuff. I've been derailed by a major HDMI capture issue, but I will not belabor that point here at the end of the show. You can go read about it on the blog. But thank you all so much for listening, and until next time, adios.
Bye-bye.